finish an album, but I just want to I want everybody to just take in the fact that like Fred VanVleet's Turks and Caicos 10 is just on 10 million, and that boy's looking like Frederico. That's why I keep doing the salsa dance tonight. I don't know if you guys seen it. I don't know if they put me on TV yet, but that boy's looking like Frederico.
Well, anytime you want to do the salsa dance, just let us know, and we'll get that going.
Let's sub him back in. Nick.
So the hotline bling is out now, whatever the thing's called.
Exactly. No. Straight up.
Welcome to part 2 of the Ball Don't Lie podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. The original file is somewhere lost in the College of Communications computer world. I'm Hunter Pitcoff, not by myself this time, here with PSSN newcomer Matt Szczypiorski.
Good to be here. Hopefully not the last time I'm here. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's the second time you're here because the first one did in fact get lost because I'm an idiot and did not export the entire thing. But that's okay. We are having some technical difficulties during Thursday anyway, so we're going to run it back. That's what we do here on Ball Don't Lie. So to start you off, Matt, we're going to talk about the Sixers. Yeah. Not looking good right now. Embiid getting an MRI on his left shoulder. No structural damage. Ruled out for at least a week. And Ben Simmons out indefinitely due to a nerve impingement in his back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not great to have your two star players out, and especially with the way they played on Wednesday night against Cleveland, losing in Cleveland. I know we stink on the road as a team, but, I mean, the Sixers, man, I mean, you're paying $289 combined million to Al Horford and Tobias Harris, and you can't beat a 16-win Cavalier team? Like, that's just getting ridiculous at that point.
Cavs are maybe also the most dysfunctional franchise in the NBA right now.
Easily.
John Beilein is the shortest tenure head coach in the history of the NBA.
Half a season.
Yeah. He didn't even make it to All-Star break, so yeah.
And the Sixers can't beat them.
And the Sixers could not beat them. So, I don't know. Maybe the Cavs are going to make a late-season surge. The East is wide open. Anyway, though, last night, this wouldn't have made the rundown on Thursday because it didn't happen, but last night on Saturday, Trae Young attempted to nutmeg Trevor Ariza like he does to every other player, but Trevor Ariza was not having it. He got into it with Trae Young. He pushed him before he can even do it, and then there was a little bit of words after. What do you think about this whole situation?
Yeah, the wily old vet, he wasn't having that one. Trae Young, obviously an up-and-coming superstar in this league, but I guess, Trevor Ariza had to serve him up some humble pie a little bit. Kind of slow down there, but young buck.
Yes. Yeah, Trae Young has not been taking it easy. No prisoners or whatever you want to say. Also worth noting, Trae Young became the 5th player in NBA history to average 30 and 10 in 2 straight months. Only other guys are Oscar Robertson, Nate Archibald, who I did bring up during the last show, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting, but Trae Young, definitely one of the best players in the NBA.
I think that no doubt there, no doubt.
Yeah. Also, something that kind of developed from the last original podcast to this one was the James Harden Giannis Antetokounmpo beef. So to kind of keep you guys up to date, if you don't know about it, Giannis said during the All-Star Game draft that he wasn't going to pick Harden because he doesn't play defense. James Harden clapped back. He took that one to heart and said, being 7 foot and dunking takes no skill at all, and that Giannis isn't as skilled of a player as people make him out to be. Giannis said yesterday that he doesn't want to take this this doesn't want this to be a back and forth. He doesn't want this to be a huge storyline throughout the season. I'm not sure Houston and Milwaukee even play from now till the rest of the season, but it's pretty interesting seeing 2 superstars like this just going at it.
It is. I think Giannis did probably what the best thing here to do was kind of throw some water in the situation, put out the fire a little bit. I think it'll probably be a non-story going forward, but it probably will be brought up the next time they play, which is March 25th in Milwaukee. So it should be interesting when that game comes up.
Yeah, I saw a thing too. It was from 2014. Giannis was just either a rookie or second year, and I think Harden turned the ball over or whatever. And then Giannis got in his face, and Harden pushed him, and then there was a little escalating thing that happened after that. So this dates back. I don't know.
Okay.
This does date back. So
and of course, Giannis did throw the ball at Harden's face one time on accident. On accident,
allegedly. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't. But anyway, let's transition to the great Phoenix Suns because Kelly Oubre, who's one of the only shining beacons of hope on that team, tore his meniscus. and we figure he's either going to miss most of the season or perhaps the rest of the season because it's not like the Suns are going anywhere.
Yeah, an unfortunate situation there for him. I think he was having a really big year this year, really breaking out for them. He was a good comment to Devin Booker. Just a really unfortunate way to go out. How long is that recovery?
It kind of depends. Sometimes it's like 2-ish months, sometimes it's even longer. So it kind of depends, but if you're the Phoenix Suns, you have Kelly Oubre locked up. They signed him during the offseason. I don't think you rush him back, especially a guy who relies heavily on his athleticism.
Right. He can jump out the gym.
Yeah, for sure. And going to the Utah Jazz here, I got an update on my phone saying that they were benching Mike Conley for Royce O'Neal. I'm like, wow, so all that big trade for nothing, and now he's on the bench. But it was actually Joe Ingles that got benched, not Mike Conley. I thought, perhaps this change in scenery will help the Jazz win some games because they've been struggling recently.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Joe Ingles, he's probably better suited to come off the bench anyway. Good shooting off the bench. His defense is not that great. I mean, that could be the reason he's on the bench now. But Mike Conley, too, let's just get back to that. His stats are way down from last year, although he was pretty much the only player on that Grizzlies team last year. But I think for Mike Conley to be better this year, I think, he's really got to get his assists up. And with the guys like Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, and Rudy Gobert that can have the ball and score, I think, he's really got to get them the basketball and let them shoot. Be a good facilitator. Yeah,
and Royce O'Neal, he's more of a slasher, more of like a guy who plays off the ball more than on it. So perhaps, of course, Donovan Mitchell's super ball-dominant player, but that probably helps out Mike Conley a bit because Joe Ingles is also a very ball-dominant player. So it definitely will, I think, clear the way more for Mike Conley and Joe Ingles because I'm sure he'll be in charge of like that, the bench, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jazz, they were playing really well. We're on a 10-game win streak at one point. Now they're struggling a bit while all these other Western Conference teams are going up, so they don't want to lag behind. The guy who's probably going to lag behind is Malik Monk because he is ruled indefinitely suspended for violating the league's anti-drug program. I don't get it. Like, he's a really talented player coming out of Kentucky, but he just hasn't seemed to put it all together in the NBA.
Yeah, he was ironically averaging career highs across the board in his third NBA season, which really isn't saying much. He's only averaging 10 points per game. It should bode well for the Charlotte backcourt, though. Starters Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier, they're going to get a lot more playing time. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for the Hornets, but Malik Monk, man, I mean, he's really got to figure it out, man. I mean, he's, like you said, really big prospect coming out of Kentucky, had high hopes for him in the draft, and he has just not panned out well for them at all.
Yeah, one of my comps for him was potentially a Lou Williams light, a guy who can come off the bench and just get buckets on buckets, but not necessarily the case so far. So
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, I would not say so. But it's funny because during the last podcast, not the one that got deleted, but the last one that got posted, Markieff Morris signed with the Lakers, and I did not look down on my phone during it, so I did not reveal it. But surprise, he signed with the Lakers. Already has played some games with them. They also are scheduled to work out Dion Waiters sometime this week as well. So what do you think of some of these, mid-season acquisitions for the Lakers?
Well, as far as Dion Waiters goes, I mean, the Lakers have some shooting issues at the guard position. There's no denying that.
Waiters loves to shoot.
Yeah, and that's one thing Waiters will do. He will jack up as many shots as he wants
Waiters
to.
Island.
Yeah, Waiters Island. He's, as we said, well known for his ability to shoot far more than he should. Although he has played in just 3 games this season after the whole, gummy incident and anxiety attack on a plane from being too high. But then as far as Markieff Morris goes, I think that's a good signing for the Lakers. He brings a good attitude. We saw it the other night. I think it was last night against Memphis.
Yeah, I'm going to wipe that one from my memory because that was an ugly game to watch.
Yeah, lost by a lot there to John Morant, who we'll talk about later. But Markieff Morris, I think he'll cut into Kyle Kuzma's minutes, which I think is a good thing for the Lakers. Kyle Kuzma has been very disappointing this season.
They've been playing them together a lot, Morris and Kuzma. So, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. But, yeah, Kyle Kuzma, he's just had a hard time kind of, finding his role with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's funny because anytime LeBron or AD sits, or doesn't play, he plays great. But now it's like, can the Lakers get him to play that well with both of them playing? Because obviously he's the third leading scorer on the team. And the first two are, he's not passing either of those guys.
No
so, yeah, I'll be curious to see if the Lakers, how they, put this all together, and possibly make a championship run. But a team that, of course, and we're going to talk about them later, but the Memphis Grizzlies, Brandon Clark out for 2 weeks due to a quad injury suffered against the Clippers. He's going to be reevaluated in that 2-week period. It's a big blow for the Grizzlies. I guess it didn't matter against the Lakers, but
apparently not.
Yeah.
I'd expect probably Josh Jackson to benefit from this the most for Memphis. I hope he really steps up for them. While Jaren Jackson Jr. is also out with an injury. He's a former number 4 overall pick. Was in the G League earlier this season after getting traded over from Phoenix. He's carved out some nice minutes off the bench for them. Hopefully he can start to put it together here. Maybe make do with that number 4 where he was drafted. Really has not lived up to that at all. But hopefully he can turn it around with a big opportunity here.
Yeah, also Josh Jackson, he's a guy who I talked about it on the last one, but he's a guy who has always been at the top. He was a top recruit in high school, McDonald's All-American, top guy at Kansas, top 5 pick in the draft. Never really had to face adversity as far as I'm concerned in terms of basketball, and now he got it. He played most of the season in the G League. Kind of, I'm sure that humbled him. Getting traded probably humbled him as well. And
some humble pie.
Yeah, some humble pie. That's what we're serving up today here on Ball Don't Lie. But we'll see if Josh Jackson now with a greater opportunity if he can step up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So also Steph Curry was scheduled to come back today actually from a broken hand. That's fake news though. Steve Kerr does not want to rush him back. A possible return date could be this Thursday against the Raptors. I guess how ironic is that? But I'm sure similarly to the previous NBA Finals, the Warriors probably aren't going to win that game. But what do you think of Steph Curry coming back?
I just don't think there's a point in him coming back at all this season. I mean, they have the worst record in the league by a good amount, and they should be doing everything they can to try and secure those best odds for the number 1 pick in June's draft. I mean, make no mistake about it. He gives them a great chance to win. Even with Steph back on this team, though, the team is not good around him. He'll have no help around him. But even bigger than that, God forbid he gets hurt again. I just don't see the point in him playing for the rest of the season at all.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I know originally they want him to come back to see how him and D'Angelo Russell would work.
But he's gone.
So I guess we'll see how him and Andrew Wiggins work. And Swaggy Poole himself, Jordan Poole.
Oh,
but yeah, I don't really get it either. I guess it's just, why not? I'm sure Steph Curry, he's a guy who just loves playing basketball. So if he can come back, he can come back. It's not, broken hand's bad, but it's not like a torn ACL or something like that. So.
And they just need to put butts in the seats, too.
That's true. They have a brand new arena in Chase Center. Warriors have a very loyal fan base, so people will come. But yeah, gotta give the people what they want. So, also, not the smoothest transition here, but Sabrina Ionescu, if you don't know who she is, probably one of the best college basketball players in a very long time. She became the first player to get 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists for anyone, regardless of men or women, in an NCAA career. If you haven't gotten to watch her play yet, she is very good. And she's probably the most dominant college basketball player right now.
I probably agree with that. That's a remarkable accomplishment. I honestly can't believe it's never been done before. So kudos to her for being able to do this. I also think it's pretty cool that she completed this accomplishment on 2/24, which is the day that Kobe and Gigi were honored at the Staples Center. And she got to speak at that event, and it must have been special for her to do it on that day. Because he was her idol, and they had talked many times. Yeah,
I also just realized that it was February 24th, 2/24, with Gigi and Kobe. I actually did not realize that.
They planned that, Hunter.
Yeah, out of all people, the dude that looked up to Kobe did not just caught my eye.
Yeah.
But anyways, though, the Bucks already clinched their spot in the playoffs, earliest to do it in 15 years, and also yesterday night. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder by 47 freaking points.
Is that a lot? I feel like that's a lot of points.
I feel like that's a lot. That reminds me of my sister's summer league games when she's to be fair, my sister is 10 years old, and she was going up against kids that were 13 but claiming to be 10.
Right.
So I was
legal.
definitely legal. But the Bucks have been dominating, and I don't know if this is more to do with the Bucks being really good or the East just being terrible.
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think, as we said, the East is really top-heavy. Pretty much after the top 6 teams in the East, it gets pretty downhill. And even the Sixers, they're in the top that 6, and they're not that great. But as of right now, I don't see anybody competing them, challenging them for that for that spot in the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to get it done pretty handily.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Bucks are definitely like the favorite, if you will, to win the East for sure. They probably have a much easier path to the finals. I don't think it'll be super easy. I think teams will come from them, but they're definitely the favorites for sure. And last but not least, as you alluded to, Matt, the Kobe Memorial was on Monday, 2:24. Went right over my head, but I did watch it, of course. I just want to hear, what do you think about the whole memorial, if you will?
Well, I really enjoyed how it was more of a celebration of his life rather than a sad day. I mean, obviously, Vanessa's speech was very emotional, very heavy, and very powerful. But most of the other speeches, like what Shaq and MJ said, they were funny stories, and they were, made people laugh. And I think at the end of the day, basketball is like such a fraternity for all of them, and it's just a guy like this brought them all together. And it's better to celebrate his life than obviously mourn. But yeah, I really enjoyed how it was more of a celebration.
Yeah, no, definitely. They brought up very personal stories. It would, because anyone could talk about all the stuff Kobe did, even all the stuff Gigi did. But at the end of the day, they brought them more as who they are as people rather than their own basketball accomplishments. So
right.
I thought that was kind of cool hearing those perspectives, especially from someone like Vanessa, of course. So yeah, it was a really great event all around. And as you know, Matt, because I said it on the first edition of this podcast, second one right here. If you're a listener or a listener who listens every week, you already know no team gets left behind. No team. So we're going to be going to our Players of the Week. We did not do it last week because there was only one game or a couple games to base it off of. It would have made no sense. But now we have a full slate of games. Kick it off for us, Matt. Who is the first Player of the Week for you?
Bradley Beal. Oh, my goodness. For all that is good and holy, get that man off of that team. Get him some help. Back-to-back nights. First guy since Kobe to do it on back-to-back nights where he posted career high 53 and 55 points respectively. The Wizards lost both of those games still. That game against Milwaukee has got to hurt. They were at home overtime. They still lost. Could have won that game. Nonetheless, the All-Star snub played like he was the best player in the league this past week. In the 4 games over the past week, he averaged a whopping 41 points per game, and the Wizards won one of those games. So, man. God bless his soul.
God bless his soul. Bradley Beal is in purgatory right now. A guy who I'm going to bring up here is none other than Kobe White for the Chicago Bulls. He had career highs in 3 straight games, tied 33 twice against the Suns and Wizards, 35 against the Thunder. The Bulls are going to need him to be, I think, at one point, more of an upper echelon point guard given time. I think if this team wants to really build things back up and head in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why he's still on the bench. I think they should probably be starting him, but that front office, that coaching system, it's a disaster in Chicago. But I think he'd probably benefit more from starting.
Yeah, I guess when the highlight of your season is that you hosted the All-Star game, not based on on-court production, perhaps the Bulls need to clean house, if you will, and get this team back to relevancy. So anyway, transitioning from that, who is number 2 on the list?
Might be a homer pick here, but Joel Embiid, obviously got
definitely
hurt.
homer. No, I'm just kidding.
No, maybe. Obviously got hurt on Wednesday night with his shoulder, but before that he was on an absolute tear. He had 39 against Brooklyn on the Thursday night we came back from the All-Star game, and a career-high 49 against Atlanta on Monday. And they weren't empty stats either. We needed, the Sixers needed those performances to get the win because they blew big leads and had to come back and win both of those games in the same fashion because they play the same game every time they play. But Embiid really willed the team to victory in both those games.
Yeah, certain someone in Penn State Sportsnet is somewhere punching the air right now that you said we. But, yeah, Embiid has been on a tear. I'm not going to say a homer pick there because he has been playing really well recently. The Sixers definitely going to have him back in order to do anything because it's a struggle right now. It's not looking good. But a guy who I have on my list is none other than the great Malik Beasley for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had
household name.
Yeah, household name. Everybody knows exactly who that is. He had 27 against Celtics, 17 against Nuggets, 21 against both the Mavericks and the Heat. This is a wash of a season for the Timberwolves. But Beasley was a sneaky good acquisition that they made during the trade deadline. I think he'd complement D'Angelo Russell really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think he'll be back in Minnesota. Especially the way he's playing. I don't know if he'll get that kind of production anywhere else, and especially since he is gelling so well with D'Angelo Russell here early on, I think he'll probably be back in Minnesota.
Yeah. Also worth noting that the Timberwolves have been playing like the third stringers right now, the same guys that Jimmy Butler carried during those practices, but they did end up winning a game, so got to give them credit. They did beat the Heat. D'Angelo also played defense, and actually...
Incredible.
I know. Never saw it with the Lakers or any other team, but he actually played defense, at least for one possession, so ended up leading to a win. So perhaps get your hands dirty on that side of the floor.
Yeah.
But last but not least, Matt, who's number 3 on the list?
As a Sixer fan, saying it's going to hurt, but Jayson Tatum. It's really time for Sixers fans to start being upset about the Colangelos taking Fultz over him in the 2017 draft.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I have a right to be mad at the Colangelos. Tatum had a career high of 41 against the Lakers on national TV on Sunday afternoon. He's followed it up with a 36 and a 33-point performance, both road wins against Western Conference teams. And, something, again, as a Sixer fan, I never get to see. But last night as well, he did have another 30-point performance, I believe, in a loss against the Rockets at home.
Yeah, that was a good game.
It was.
Yeah, it was a really
big
good game.
comeback for the Rockets.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Tatum just keeps balling out. I think he's probably debatably the best player on that team right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Unfortunately, me and Matt are going to swallow our pride and hype up the Celtics a little bit. But Jayson Tatum, now, because this stat wasn't available during the last podcast, now it is. Jayson Tatum became the 5th Celtics player to average 30-plus points in a calendar month. The only other players to do it are Isaiah Thomas, Paul Pierce, Larry Bird, and John Havlicek. So that is a pretty good list for Tatum to be on.
That is quite the list.
Yeah, quite the list. Some of the greatest players to ever put on the Celtics screen, if you will. But a guy who I have, who's probably not one of the greatest to put on any jerseys, but a pretty respectable player in his own right, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yes.
Averaging 22.3 points per game, almost 4 threes made per game over the last week. You never know who's going to have the hot hand in Dallas outside of Luka and Porzingis, but right now, Tim Hardaway Jr. is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's really random. They got him last year at the deadline, I believe, and I guess he's been playing well. I mean, really, and, they need him to shoot threes for them, and he's been doing that, so props to him.
Yeah, and like we say in the podcast, no team gets left behind. No players get left behind either, Matt. So that's going to wrap up our players of the week. Now, this is the time where we unfortunately talk about the Celtics, but gotta give them credit where it's due. They're 3rd in the East right now. They've won 12 out of their last 15 games. So I want to know, Matt, what's the biggest difference between the Celtics this year and last year?
No drama. They don't have Al Horford anymore.
Drama queen of the NBA.
They got Horford and Irving out of there and have since had great team chemistry. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then also it's worth noting that the Sixers have had reported locker room drama this year. Again, not a coincidence. But I think, the Celtics right now, they're a lot different than last year and in a lot of good ways. Even Marcus Smart, is shooting the ball a lot better for them and always bringing that great defense. So guys like that are improving.
Yeah, he's like the Draymond Green of that team, if you will.
Yeah, heart and soul.
He's the heart and soul of the team, the kind of like the defensive captain, if you will. Like, everyone always talks about on the Celtics how good he is, not only like as an individual defender, but also telling guys where to go and stuff. A really smart player in his own right. I feel like the Celtics are what the Sixers were last year, and the Sixers are what the Celtics were last year.
That hurts.
I didn't bring that up last podcast, but now
I'm going to cry.
Yeah, now we'll be right back because Matt is going to cry. But anyways, though, the Celtics have been really good this year. A big reason why, in my opinion, like you said, no drama, but no ego either. I feel like last year they were all playing for themselves. I'm not just going to blame Kyrie or Al Horford. Everybody was playing kind of individually, whether it was for a new contract or just to prove haters wrong.
Right.
So I feel like now they play well as a team together. Getting rid of guys, almost kind of like addition by subtraction, if you will, getting rid of some good players in their own right, but then that led to more opportunities for other really good players. We've seen Jaylen Brown take advantage of that. We've seen Jayson Tatum really take advantage of that. Kemba Walker's been phenomenal for them this year. So the Celtics, they have the talent, and now they're showing everybody like that they are truly one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely got the pieces. They've got the experience. Even though they are such a young team, they've gone deep into the playoffs the past 2 years, so they do have the playoff experience.
That's true.
Jaylen Brown, as you said, has been balling out. Hit that crazy game-tying three last night. I think their only problem right now, for the way the team is constructed, is probably the center position. Daniel Tice and Enes Kanter are not long-term solutions at the center position.
Nor defensive players.
Yeah,
They don't
might
do
be
the
time to get
defense.
Taco Falsenburg. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, as we started to point out, Tatum is starting to prove he can carry a team by himself, with Kemba having missed the last few games. Jaylen Brown's obviously really blossomed, and I think Kemba's the perfect point guard for this team because he can take over if he needs to, but he's also not ego-driven. He's going to share the ball, and he can tell when another player is hot and you need to feed him the ball. So I think even when Kemba does come back, I still think Jayson Tatum's going to get his.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even when Kemba was healthy, we started seeing Jayson Tatum kind of make some strides, if you will. And Kemba, no ego there. This is a guy that just wants to win. He was sick and tired of being in Charlotte all those years, putting up empty stats. Now he's putting up stats that matter, and now he's playing for a team that is actually looking to win just like him.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, to note the playoff experience with Kemba because while he didn't get that much with Charlotte, he carried those UConn teams.
Cardiac Kemba
carried them to a national title in 2011, I believe.
Yep.
So he does have that experience, and he's got the ice in his veins.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest title runs I've probably ever seen.
Yep.
Like in basketball. I know Butler's was pretty nuts, like in 2010 when they got there, but Kemba Walker, what he did at 1 year at UConn was just different.
Insane.
Yeah, it was insane. But I want to know, because we both are on the same page. We think the Bucks are the heavy favorites in the East, but can the Celtics at least give them a good chance? Make it tough on them.
I think the Celtics probably have the best chance to give the Bucks a run for their money in the Eastern Conference. Just because, as we said before, the East is just extremely weak this year. I think the Celtics too. They travel well. They play well on the road, which is something that
they do play really well on the road.
That cannot be said for other Eastern Conference teams that will not be named. The Celtics, I think they could probably take the Bucks to 7, but a Game 7 in Milwaukee, even for a good road team like Boston, I think it's a tough situation where they would have to go there and win.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the Celtics could definitely give them a run for their money. I would say the biggest threat, I'm leaning toward the Raptors just because they did it before, and I think personnel-wise, they may be a little more suited to beat the Bucks, and they kind of have that mental edge on them.
They do.
But I do think the Celtics would at least have a chance. And, of course, we've been talking about Jayson Tatum. We've been hyping him up, of course. He has made vast improvements in his game this year. I want to know, do you think Jayson Tatum can eventually be the best player on a championship team?
I think he can. I think he is close. I don't think he's there yet, but I think eventually he definitely can be, especially if he keeps ascending the way that he has even in this month. I think he can eventually take over for, maybe the Kemba role that Kemba has right now, and eventually he will get paid by Boston or by somebody else, and he could probably be the man.
Yeah, I think Danny Ainge was on to something because you're like, why does he keep refusing to trade Jayson Tatum for Anthony Davis? I think because he sees, I'm not saying Tatum's better than AD, but I think he just sees that Jayson Tatum has what it takes to be that guy. And I want to say, Jayson Tatum last year, he definitely got better from year 1 to year 2, but I don't think he took that jump that people thought, to superstardom. And I think a big reason why is shot selection. That's been the biggest difference from this year. He's been much more efficient. He's shooting better shots. It's not forced anymore. He's been so good in the pick and roll this year. He's, I think, one of the best pick and roll players in the league. Might have the most underrated handles in the NBA.
Does.
He can, and he's 6'8" too. So taking him off the dribble, I kind of see flashes of a Paul George, if you will, with him.
Ooh.
And he's been really statistically one of the best defenders in the NBA this year. And I said it on the last podcast, but I'll say it again because you did not listen to it. But the Celtics ascension right now kind of reminds me a bit of the Pacers, just a little bit of Pacers from years back, just because Tatum is kind of taking on that Paul George role.
Right.
They're becoming legit title contenders either this year or at least the next couple of years potentially. And they have an established culture with Brad Stevens there. Everybody now knows their role. They play really hard on both ends of the floor, and I think we could see the Celtics this year definitely give the Bucks a run for their money.
I agree, and I think another underrated part of this team is their coaching. Brad Stevens is probably one of the top coaches in the entire league, if not the best. And I think, the way he draws up plays out timeouts, the way he has defensive sets going for them, pick and rolls at the right time, I think he's doing a great job with this team.
It's crazy, just looking back, the Celtics taking a chance on him. Just the guy from Butler, who's the youngest coach in the NBA. I don't know if he's still... I don't think he's the youngest coach anymore. I think he's second or third, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely still one of the young guys. He was Sean McVay before Sean McVay even came to light here. But I I also kind of want, like, bigger picture here. Do you think the Celtics could eventually win a championship? Maybe we're not going to say this year, but at least over the next, 3 years, could they potentially win one?
Really making me swallow my pride here, Hunter. I could definitely see it. I don't want to, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially with the way, as we've talked about, the way Tatum is ascending. Even guys like Jaylen Brown and, becoming stars in their roles. Shout out Coach Donnelly from high school. Becoming stars.
I always say that, too, yeah.
Becoming
Shout
stars in
coach.
their roles. Yeah. Kemba, as we said, no ego. And even Marcus Smart becoming, tenacious on that defensive side and becoming an even better shooter this year. I think they all have really well-defined roles, and I think that's huge for this team.
Yeah, I feel like the chemistry is there, something that really wasn't last year, and the Celtics are definitely building something there. Also worth noting, Danny Ainge, it's almost like making a deal with the devil every time. It seems like he wins every trade, including draft picks to get certain players.
Okay, just...
Sorry, we're going to have to have another break. But anyways, though, we're going to talk about a team that isn't quite there yet, but maybe in a few years could get to where the Celtics are now, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies. Extremely low expectations entering the season. It was kind of considered to be a rebuilding year for them, but they were struggling a little bit. They were 14-5 over 19 games. Then they went on a 4-game losing streak. Then they kind of put a smacking on my Lakers.
Yep.
So I kind of want to know, do you think this team can hold up without Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark?
I think they proved last night that they can.
Yeah, when John Morant plays like that,
it's pretty hard to stop them. I think he's going to become a star in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Jaren Jackson Jr. Comes back, I think they'll form a dominant duo as they have over the course of the season. But going back to those 4 losses, those do concern me, though, because, a 4-point loss to the Kings, then it led to a 12-point loss to the Lakers, then 27 to the Clippers, and then finally a 28-point beatdown by the Houston Rockets. Playing on the road is something you have to do in this league, and especially in the playoffs. And they're not going to be a top seed. They're going to be the 8th seed in the West, most likely. So they're going to have to probably go to L.A. and play against them on the road, and, they have not proven that they can do that yet.
Yeah, I don't think the Grizzlies. I think them just making the playoffs is a huge win for this team. I think assuming the Lakers get the 1 seed, I don't think that any team is going to surpass the top 7 at this point in the West. So even if they get smacked by the Lakers, it's like, hey, the fact that they got there is a huge win for them. And
I agree.
It's also worth noting, I didn't mention this last time, but the Grizzlies actually lead the league in assists per game as well. It's a fun stat right there. They got a guy in John Morant, of course, who was one of the best passers in the league. Tyus Jones always has one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios, so another really smart player on that team. And again, they play as a team, and that's kind of why they've been good this year. It's not just a John Morant show or the Jaren Jackson show, but as a collective, they've been really good.
It's kind of interesting that the more things change, the more they stay the same. They remind me a lot of those gritty teams they had a couple years ago with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph.
The grandfather.
Exactly, the grandfather. It's funny. I can see that same fire with this team. I see the same tenacity with this team. Even John Morant last night calling out that Twitter hater, inspiring him to play so well. So I think they all got chips on their shoulders. Is that the right saying? I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. So I think, they do remind me a lot of them, and I think they're going to compete this year.
Yeah. Also worth noting that social media can, in fact, help the lives of many.
Especially a young guy like Ja.
Yeah. So keep hating. Ja Morant just feeds off it. That's just fuel to add to the fire. And he's reading all your tweets, too. No burner account there. As he's shown in the past, he will say it under his own alias.
He will.
But I also kind of want to know here, so we talked about Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, both of them out. Obviously, you talked about Josh Jackson stepping up. Do you think that he can continue to kind of thrive now that he is having this opportunity?
I think he can. He obviously has the potential as a former number 4 overall pick. Obviously, you don't become a number 4 overall pick for no reason. So I think he can shine with this opportunity too. He just got to prove that he can do it. He's got to do it on both ends. He's got to play hard. And I think if he does that, he could possibly carve out a nice role for himself with Memphis.
Yeah, I think a guy, because we talked about the 2 best big men on the Grizzlies, if you will, out. So I'm going to go next man up mentality and say Jonas Valanciunas, who did look good yesterday. I think he's a guy that can really step up for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a very solid player. He's very good in the low post, a pretty solid pick-and-roll player, cleans up on the glass, and he's a gritty guy, doesn't back down to anybody. I think Jonas Valanciunas will definitely, not saying he's going to be an all-star or anything, but I think he'll thrive with this new opportunity that he has now that he's kind of probably one of the more focal points of this team.
Yeah, didn't he have something ridiculous, like 25 rebounds last night or something?
Oh, God. I don't know if he had exactly 25, but it definitely felt like he had that many.
Yeah, I mean, he was cleaning up on the glass last night. Just working to confirm this. I want to see it.
Yes.
20 rebounds and 22 points.
Yeah, Big
That's
J
crazy.
journalism right here.
Yeah, there you go. Looking it up on the spot.
Yep.
I mean, if he's going to continue to play like that, maybe they keep him in the starting lineup when JJJ returns.
Yeah, well, they both did actually start together. They played Jaren Jackson at the 4.
Okay.
Yeah, they DeAnthony Melton. They're going small now. They pushed down Kyle Anderson from the 3 to the 4.
Okay.
And they put DeAnthony Melton in there. So I'll probably take Melton out and then bump Anderson back to the 3 and slide, because Jaren Jackson's such a good shooter,
right,
that you can play him and Jonas together. I mean, that's kind of the compliment that you can have there, because you have to guard Jaren Jackson on the perimeter. He's an outside-in player at 7 feet, which is kind of scary when you think about it. But I also want to give credit where it's due to head coach Taylor Jenkins of the Grizzlies. Do you think he deserves more praise?
I think he absolutely does.
Yeah,
we talked about it.
First-year head coach too.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I mean, to get this team to where they are right now, they weren't even supposed to compete this year, and now they're sitting in a playoff spot. And unless something dramatic happens, they're probably going to stay in the playoffs. I think it's crazy that he's even got them competing, playing this hard as such a young team that didn't really seem to have an identity in the beginning, but now they certainly do. I think he deserves some possible recognition, maybe for a Coach of the Year candidacy. I don't think he's going to win it, but definitely deserves some consideration there.
I couldn't agree with you more, Matt. I don't know if he'll win it. It's pretty hard to see that, but I definitely does deserve consideration. He's done a phenomenal job. I also kind of read into some more feature stories, if you will, about the culture there, and everybody's on the same page. It's all upbeat, and a lot of that's on coaching, developing culture. Especially, it's hard, it can be hard, being a first-time head coach, and these guys are like, who is this guy? Like, why should I listen to you? But they've galvanized around them really well. Mm-hmm. Even though they're a young team, they play really hard. And I will say that this was a big win against the Lakers yesterday, because it really was, because teams like the Pelicans are creeping up on them. The Kings have all of a sudden been playing really well recently. I think they're only 2.5 games ahead of the Pelicans for the 8 to 9 seed, and the Pelicans play the Lakers today. So
ESPN's gonna eat that up.
Oh yeah, you know that for sure. It's not like they just played like 3 nights ago, but they're gonna play again. But last but not least, though, of course the Grizzlies, they're not gonna win it all this year. But I want to know bigger picture. Do you think this organization can put together a title contender in the coming years?
I think they could, but obviously the big thing here is that Memphis is not a big free agent destination, but what is working in their favor is that they do have a lot of money. So if they wanted to make a trade for a big name player, they could take on the salary. I could see them possibly making a run at a guy that can shoot, that could complement Ja Morant well, maybe Bradley Beal, get him out of Washington, or maybe even Devin Booker. Get him out of Phoenix. I can't stand the fact that Devin Booker's still in Phoenix. He needs to get out of there.
Yeah, both those guys.
Yeah,
man.
Both those guys need to get out of there. I think they'd be really good comments for this team because they can shoot, and they could be the guy on that team if they wanted to be, until Ja's ready to be that superstar.
Yeah, we got a little distraught at you last podcast because we kind of disagreed. I said that Devin Booker would be the guy in Memphis. You think it'd be Ja Morant?
It would be Ja Morant. It would. It's Ja's team.
Okay, but are you saying Devin Booker would be the second best player on the team?
That remains to be seen.
I don't know.
As of right now, Devin Booker would be the best player. But if they were to make a trade, next year at some point down the road, I think Ja, he's still got that untapped potential. We don't know how good he can be.
Yeah, when he doesn't miss shots against the Lakers, he's basically unguardable.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got a little back and forth on that. Not gonna get the same raw reaction because I knew it was coming this time. But yeah Devin Booker, I don't know. Devin Booker's pretty freaking good. So I do love me some Ja Morant. I always hype him up here. But Yeah, it'd be interesting if they made that move, and perhaps I mean, it wouldn't happen immediately, of course.
Right.
Like especially Devin Booker, I feel like it'd be like at least a year.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if they can get the assets to make that move, I mean, I feel like they'd be silly not to.
Yeah, I mean, anything that can improve the team, especially if they're as close to competing as they seem to be this year. They need to make strides up, not down. So
that would be ideal.
yeah, obviously. I think guys like Beal or Booker would only help with that team.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Grizzlies, maybe they have a trick up their sleeve. We'll see. A team that typically doesn't have tricks up their sleeve, or if they do, it doesn't end well, is the Washington Wizards. I'm sure Bradley Beal just hates losing all the time. He's already secured the bag. He signed a 5-year, $127 million extension in the offseason. That doesn't mean he's going to be there for 5 years. He got his money. Yeah, I have a feeling it doesn't. Like you alluded to, Matt, Bradley Beal's been on a tear. The back-to-back 50-point games. That was only last time that happened was Kobe. He had 60 against the Grizzlies, 50 against the New Orleans Hornets on March 22nd, 23rd, 2007. And again, the Wizards lost both those games. Bradley Beal randomly drug tested.
Yeah, random.
Because the NBA, they're so slick with it. But I kind of want to know. Obviously, we both kind of think that Bradley Beal will eventually be like, I want out.
Mm-hmm.
But do you see Beal asking out of Washington in the immediate future?
I think so. I think he's just become really frustrated. The fact that he's basically carrying this team on his back right now, and he has no help, and they're still losing. And his supposed to be co-star John Wall has just been missing.
Where is this guy?
Nobody knows where he is. He's just probably hurting himself in his home somewhere, tearing his Achilles, doing random things. But I think Bradley Beal needs to get the heck out of there, man. He needs to request a trade. And the thing with his contract, too, it is a max contract, but it's not as lucrative as, say, a guy like Tobias Harris, who's getting paid $36 million a year.
Shout out my Long Island dude. You getting paid.
Oh, God. Anyway, I'd love to see him on a guard-needy team that's close to competing. Maybe a team like, as we said, Memphis, maybe even the Orlando Magic. They could use some guard help, some younger guard help. The Heat, I think he would fit in really well there with Jimmy Butler, maybe. And obviously, I'd love to see him on the Sixers, but we have no money. So, not we. The Sixers have no money. His contract, as I said, while hefty, is not as hefty as some other deals. And, for a team who doesn't have a large payroll like Memphis or Orlando or even Miami right now, they're not, paying guys other than Jimmy Butler a lot of money. So, I think he'd definitely be well worth the money and worth the risk.
Yeah, it was interesting to see what the Heat do. There's been rumors that they're waiting until the following offseason, 2021, for make a run at Giannis.
Oh, God.
That's been rumored.
Who isn't making a run at Giannis?
I know, but I think the Heat would. Pat Riley's a pretty convincing guy. Andre Iguodala wanted no part of that team.
I did hear about that.
And then he had a talk with him and was like, you're coming to the Heat, and played some Jedi mind tricks and was like, okay. And then also Bam Adebayo, he's due for a contract extension in the offseason. You know the Heat are signing him immediately.
They can't let him go.
Yeah, they cannot, and they will not either. He's been a big reason why they've been as good as they have been. But sticking with the Wizards here, we can talk about the Heat, but we're gonna talk about the Wizards here. This team kind of reminds me of the pre-Lakers before Pau Gasol, which I think the big difference here though is that the Wizards are worse than the Lakers are, and the Lakers had Kwame Brown. At least they were making the playoffs.
Kwame Brown.
And Kobe was looking to leave. He was looking to go somewhere else, but the Lakers actually had a competent front office that got Pau Gasol. I don't know about you, but I don't see the same thing happening with the Wizards. I don't think they're going to get any other help, and I think the result is ultimately going to be Bradley Beal packing his bags and going somewhere else.
I totally agree, and the big difference between these two teams, as we as you said earlier, is that the Lakers had a competent front office. The Wizards likely do not. So I'd imagine that Beal's going to ask out of there pretty soon.
Yeah. Do you think this is bold? Do you think he does it in the offseason?
Yes. I think so.
Too. I do too.
So.
I think he's going to too.
I think he's getting really fed up.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more there. But obviously you talked about some landing spots. I think they're all obviously I don't think you and me think the Sixers could realistically do it. And I don't think the Lakers could either, to be fair. He would fit awesome on that team.
Yeah.
So we're going to be unbiased here, of course.
Always.
I think the Magic's interesting just because, they tried getting DeMar DeRozan. It didn't work. Maybe they can sign him in the offseason, but at this point in their careers, I'd definitely say Bradley Beal would be an upgrade over DeRozan.
Well, yeah, because he shoots threes. DeMar DeRozan just refused to
He's
shoot
stuck
threes.
in 2005.
Yeah, he loves those mid-range jumpers.
Yeah. But it's a funny point there. Of course, the the Magic are going to overpay guys like they have done in the past. But Bradley Beal probably, like you said, probably being underpaid right now. He's
Definitely.
top 15-ish player, and he's only not even making $30 a year, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they were able to save a lot of money on him because he didn't make All-NBA last year. And if he
Right.
made All-NBA, that contract, he'd be eligible for more money.
Yep.
So I guess the Wizards won while Bradley Beal lost. But some other teams, I feel like the Thunder have to be a player in every single big trade just because of the fact that they have so many draft picks.
They have
like
ridiculous amount of draft
so
picks.
many draft picks that there's no way that they couldn't pull off a trade.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You know, I think in a deal like that, I think they'd probably have to give up one of Chris Paul or Shai, but I highly doubt they would give up Shai. I think, you know, if they were make a trade for Bradley Beal, it would probably be Chris Paul.
Oh,
leaving
yeah,
town.
also with the contracts.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
contracts match up. And then, you know, as we talked about the hidden podcast, Shai can play point or shooting guard, so he could fit in nice there. He can lead the team. Bradley Beal would be a great compliment there.
Yeah, no, Bradley Beal. I mean, the Thunder. I feel like I trust their front office. They're
I do.
not afraid
Sam Presti.
They're not afraid to make moves at all.
Mm-hmm.
They traded for Paul George. It didn't work out, but they did make that move. They traded for Serge Ibaka for Victor Oladipo,
Right.
who they then traded for Paul George. They traded for Melo, of course. They traded Westbrook and Paul George during the offseason. They also traded James Harden on accident.
Oops.
Yeah, they decided that Serge Ibaka was a better fit than James Harden was on that team.
Yikes.
It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. It's all good. Anyways, though, I think the Thunder have to be a player in this. Again, I think he fit with Shea really, really well because, you know, he can play either guard spot. Bradley Beal also can. He's not a point guard, but he can initiate the offense too, so he
Right.
can stagger them and play them together both at the same time. And another team I look at is the Toronto Raptors because I think that Masai Ujiri, another guy who pulled off Kawhi Leonard for basically nothing.
Right.
And I wouldn't be shocked if he can rob the Spurs. I think he can rob the Wizards.
Yeah, I think he could probably rob them blind. That would be a great interesting fit. He would fit really well with Pascal Siakam and even Kyle Lowry too, because Kyle Lowry should not be the best shooter on any team. Yeah, I think he'd fit in great there. I'd be interested to see what the Raptors would have to give up for Bradley Beal, but
That's true.
as you said, the Wizards are not very competent. Wouldn't be hard to steal from them. So I'd be interested to see that fit.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that one. And another team I bring up, which is an interesting one because I think they can I think they have what it takes to pull it off, is the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow.
They got a lot of guards there.
Yeah.
Obviously, neither KD or Kyrie would be in the deal, but they got guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Joe Harris. There's only one basketball, so why not potentially, if you can, get an upgrade and combine them all into one player in Bradley Beal?
Probably because of money. They'd have 3 guys on max contracts then, and, you know, who else are they going to pay to fill out the other 12 guys on that roster? They'd probably be a bunch of, you know, low-tier guys. But I guess it depends, like, how worth it they see to have 3 bona fide
That's the thing, is
superstars.
they got 3 guys.
Yeah, 3 guys that can score at any time they want, at any will. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see that, but I don't know if they could do that just because of the money and because they'd have to give up some of their key role players there.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But I think it is a star-driven league in the NBA.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have seen. I mean, I know it's a different regime, but we literally saw the Nets chase 2 superstars this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them make a big attempt in 2013 to
For Paul Pierce and
for
Kevin
Paul
Garnett.
Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry.
Right.
Didn't really work out
Nope.
like they imagined it.
No.
But it always worked out for the Celtics.
Yeah. No, it definitely. Again, Danny Ainge working with the devil.
Yep.
Oh God.
But we've seen that the Nets have always been an aggressive front office, no matter who's there.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps that they would make a move for Bradley Beal and be like, you know what, we don't care that we only have 6 good players on our team. Just have fun beating our 6 good players.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at that point, they would just have to, stay healthy, which they have not been able to do this year.
Yeah, it also would be worth noting how they'd handle the situation too, because KD, Kyrie, and Bradley Beal, super hypothetical here, but they were all on the same team, of course, one basketball. But I will say that Bradley Beal knows what it's like to play off of John Wall when John
Right.
Wall was the best player on that team. So perhaps he can also play off a guy like Kyrie and KD as well. And no matter what happens, no matter what the scenario is, the Nets would have a 25-point-per-game scorer on the court at all times.
That's true. I mean, you really can't argue with that.
Yeah, Matt, and I know neither of us are huge Bachelor guys, but this kind of reminds me of the whole time Bradley Beal's the Bachelor, and all these NBA teams are just making their pitch to convince him to be with them.
It's like, I can give you things that the Wizards can't.
Yeah, we made that. I threw a fast one at you last time, so not as raw of a reaction. I'm sorry about that. But nevertheless, though, we had to throw the Bachelor in there. But last but not least, we always finish off with our All-NBA teams. We're going to be doing an All-NBA post-All-Star breakout team. There's always players that really pick it up post-All-Star break, and you'll finish the season on a high note. So, Matt, who is first on your list?
A guy that you brought up earlier, Kobe White, 3 straight 30-point games off the bench as a rookie. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
33, 33, and 35. He's the first Bulls rookie to do that since Michael Jordan, and the first rookie ever to score 30 points off the bench in 3 straight. That's pretty remarkable. He probably, as I said earlier, should not be on the bench at all, but the Bulls' incompetency. So, yeah, that's my first guy.
Are you saying that Kobe White's the next Michael Jordan?
Not yet. Working
Not
to
yet.
confirm that, although he does have great hair. He does have
gray hair. That's a good pick. I like that one a ton. I'm going to be stating the obvious here, but Jayson Tatum has to make my post-All-Star breakout team just because we are literally seeing him break out right now, and I have a feeling that he's going to be, when it's all said and done, having one of the most impressive ends to the season, because I think just like he did in the playoffs a few years ago, I think he's going to tear it up in the postseason this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's an extremely streaky player, and when he's hot, he's hot. And like you said, in that those playoffs 2 years ago where he took the Cavs to 7 games, yeah, and he was like the main guy on that team too, as like such a young guy. I think it's a great pick. We've talked about him a ton already today on the show. So
yeah, as if we haven't talked enough Celtics basketball here. Be right back. I'm going to throw up. But next up on the list, Matt, is
C.J. McCollum. Now, he's been playing really well in Damian Lillard's absence. He had a season-high 41 points in a win over Detroit on Sunday night. He's been balling out, as I said, while Lillard has been out with his hamstring injury. His last 3 games, he's averaged 32 points per game and has been dragging this Blazers team around to be even remotely competitive. Similar situation to Beal, get that man some help, but he has Damian Lillard waiting in the wings to come back. Maybe make a run at the 8th seed, but I doubt it the way they're playing right now. Also, interesting to note here with McCollum, he did say he was not going to be signing autographs anymore with the first big.
That's right. That broke after the first podcast.
Yeah, with the first sign of coronavirus in Oregon. So, sorry, Trailblazers kids, you're not getting any autographs from McCollum.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Not a man of the people. I'm just kidding. But anyway, a guy who I have up, I talked about him already, Jonas Valanciunas. He stumbled into opportunity here, and I think he's going to be putting up some big boy numbers as those 2 guys, being Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark, are out.
Yeah, I agree. Even I wasn't with you the first time we recorded this, but after last night when he's putting up 22 points and 20 rebounds against the Lakers, I feel like he definitely deserves to be on this list.
Yeah, I would say so. Ball don't lie.
Ball do not lie.
All right, who else made the list for you?
An underrated all-star, but an all-star nonetheless. Chris Middleton, at the time, he had 4 straight games scoring at least 22 points, shooting at 56% over the last week, and he had 40 against the aforementioned Wizards in an overtime win over the week. And obviously he played against the Sixers last Saturday night and probably didn't miss a shot. I think he shot like 107% or something like that. He's having that kind of season right now, just a remarkable season for shooters. He's going for that 90-50-40 right now. I think you could definitely do it. He's a great shooter.
Yeah, he is teetering along the lines of that. Like you said, great shooter, very efficient player. The most important player on the Bucks this season.
No.
I don't think he's not in terms of encore production, no. But I don't know. Giannis' clock is ticking there, and Chris Middleton did not score more than 14 points in any Eastern Conference Finals game last year. So if Chris Middleton doesn't step it up, I think Giannis is gonna be like, you know what? May have to go elsewhere. I'm sick and tired of losing.
I can't ride this wave with you, Hunter. I don't think Giannis is leaving before that contract's up, especially with the way they're playing this year.
No, I don't think he'll demand a trade per se, but I'm saying that I think that the Bucks, they're capped out right now. I think
That's
that this
true.
is their team. They're not going to see any more significant changes. And now the question is, even with a great player like Giannis, can your second best player on a championship team be Chris Middleton?
I mean, it's worked so far this year for him. So
In the regular season.
Yeah, in the regular season. Obviously, the playoffs will be a different story. Time will tell. But I think the big thing with the Bucks is Middleton is the second best player on that team, but they have a bunch of great guys in their role players. Both the Lopez brothers been playing really well at that center position. Guys like Matthew Dellavedova coming off the bench, he's been really good. Dante DiVincenzo. Wrong Milwaukee Buck guy there.
Yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo's been playing well. And even Pat Connaughton has been playing well as well. So I think the big story with the Bucks is not their stars, but it's more about who they have around their stars right now.
That's true. The team is very well constructed. So gotta give credit to the front office. Give credit to Mike Budenholzer as well. I don't doubt the Bucks are a good team. They're definitely a really good team. One of the best teams in the league. Best team in the regular season this year.
Yeah.
But I will say that come playoff time, if they choke again, you saw how pissed off Giannis was at that post game press conference.
That's true.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Yeah.
And Giannis, he is the ultimate competitor. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is sick and tired of coming up short. And if they come up short again, I don't know. I'm not saying he's gonna request a trade, but he may start weighing his options a little bit.
Time will tell, Hunter.
Time will tell. So next up on my list is going to be R.J. Barrett. You're pretty irate about it last time.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
I know the Knicks are bad. I'm not arguing that. I'm not going to say he's got to help them win games, but come on. He's had a good rookie year. I know he's not as good as Zion and Ja, but I feel like that's unfair. Both those guys have had like historic seasons in their own right. But R.J. Barrett, he's going to put him up. He's going to have good games. And I think that when you look at the Knicks, they are building toward the future, and the future starts with Rowan Barrett Jr.
I wish you guys could see my face right now because I am not entertained by this at all. R.J. Barrett, man, I don't know. I mean, the other night against the Hornets, a bad team, he was 2 for 11 with 5 points. I had to pull up some
growing
stats
pains.
for it.
They're growing pains.
Oh, yeah, growing pains for a breakout player. No. Oh, God, this is just frustrating me to no end. And also, I saw a tweet the other day where it was like, R.J. Barrett, he shoots left-handed, even though he's right-handed. He does everything else righty, but he shoots lefty just because it's more comfortable.
Yeah, players do that. LeBron's a lefty.
Yeah, but he's LeBron.
Well, yeah, that's fair. But LeBron's a lefty. Luke Kennard's a righty. He shoots lefty. John Wall's a lefty. Shoots righty.
All right, maybe it's more common than I thought.
Yeah, I know. It's a little interesting. I know, because your whole form is very, very different.
Right.
Obviously, when you shoot lefty, you have to almost shoot sideways. But I'm just saying, R.J. Barrett. It's funny because he's almost allergic to using his right hand, so it's kind of funny. But he's like, I'm actually a righty. But R.J. Barrett, come on. I mean, the Knicks are bad. Even if he puts up garbage time numbers, I still think R.J. Barrett's gonna be an all-rookie player this year.
You think?
Yeah. Are you kidding?
Oh God.
Is
the rookie class that weak that R.J. Barrett's getting consideration?
Come on, he's probably top 5 in scoring for a rookie.
And I'm going to say for the Knicks. I was like, well, nobody else is going for the Knicks.
Yeah, I would feel pretty confident he's top 5 for the Knicks.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, don't sleep on RJ. I think that he's going to eventually become a pretty solid player in the NBA. So
maybe, or it could be end up like Josh Jackson.
Okay, let's not go there. But well, hey, you were saying, Josh Jackson's going to be great.
He was in the G League this year.
All right, not enough hyping up Josh Jackson here. Not a lot to say. But who also made your list?
Number 1 overall pick from 2 years ago, DeAndre Ayton. 3 out of the last 4 games, he's had a double-double. He had 28 and 19 in a win over Chicago last Saturday. Maybe for him, he's turned a corner and he could possibly become what the Suns envisioned from him when they took him number 1. Maybe he's really turned a corner here after struggling when he got back from his 25-game suspension earlier this year. Maybe convincing Booker that he shouldn't give up on him yet. He shouldn't give up on the Suns yet.
Don't give up on me.
Yeah. So
come on, man.
Yeah. Breakout player.
Oh man, I think DeAndre Ayton needs to become the next Shaq for for Devin Booker to stay. I remember people were like, "Oh, that's the next Shaq and Kobe in Phoenix." I'm like, "Okay,
Shaq played defense."
Yeah, let's slow down there. Let's calm down, guys. On the real, but yeah, I mean DeAndre Ayton, he may not be as good as Luka Doncic or Trae Young,
definitely not.
or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jaren Jackson Jr. But hey, he's good.
Yeah,
Doesn't play defense, but
28-19 against Chicago. 28-19.
There it is. There you have it, folks. But next up on my list, and I didn't know why you thought you were more disturbed with R.J. Barrett making my list, but I had Cam Reddish on mine. His points per game have gone up every single month he's been in the league, and so is his field goal percentage. So he's getting more opportunities, and he's making the best of them. He's showing improvement.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about on the Breakout team, is improvement.
Yeah.
We should have done all NBA like Fallout team, like which players are gonna like just crash, burn to end the season.
Like RJ Barrett.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyways, though, but Cam Reddish, he was giving people problems. The NBA rookies, they had a poll like they do every year, and they said who's gonna be the best player. Like I don't know who's gonna have the best career, and Cam Reddish got the most votes.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah,
even with the guys they had in that draft, like Zion.
Yeah.
But Cam Reddish was the guy getting the most time. I mean, listen, he was a top 3 recruit for a reason. Coming out of Duke, lottery pick for a reason too. I think he could definitely carve out a really good role there in Atlanta. I feel like he'll eventually crack the starting lineup. He's behind Kevin Huerter right now, I believe. But I think as long as his shooting improves and he continues to play well on defense, I think he's definitely more viable for this team than RJ Barrett is.
Yeah, I can't blame Cam Reddish. He's behind the Velvet Mamba right now.
Oh
the next Klay Thompson.
Velvet Mamba.
Look, I didn't make that up. That's how Hawks fans speak because they're not used to like good basketball.
Yeah.
So when they see like Kevin Huerter make a couple shots, like Klay Thompson.
Yeah, remember they thought Kyle Korver was like Jesus.
Yes, Kyle Korver. The cult following ended up leading to an All-Star game appearance. Doesn't matter. Kyle Korver made an All-Star game.
Yeah.
Like what? But that's at that time, like what the hell, really? But yeah, Cam Reddish, I think will get better. And it is worth noting that he could be the next Paul George, or he could be the next Otto Porter.
Yeah,
maybe right in the middle.
Yeah,
just aim for the middle. You'll be a solid NBA player. Who knows?
Definitely.
But next on my list, actually, we'll give you your last one because there's one more for you, right?
Keeping with the Atlanta theme, I got John Collins. He's been on an absolute scoring tear of late. He had a career high of 36 points in a win over Dallas last Saturday, including going 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. And I think that's the biggest thing for him is how much he's improved as an outside shooter. We talked about with Jaren Jackson Jr. earlier, where guys are this big, but they're still developed in this great outside shooting game, and I think that's huge for him, and I think it's huge for the Hawks, especially the way they're constructed with Trae Young, where he can dominate on defense and dominate inside while also being able to run that pick and roll and shoot outside.
Yeah, John Collins is a really good player. Curious to see how he does fit with Clint Capella there.
Right.
Probably going to slide him to the 4, not as much 5.
Which he can play.
I think he'd even be better, arguably, because he's so athletic. I liked him a lot coming out of Wake Forest. He really developed that outside game.
Definitely.
I don't know if it's because they held him back there at Wake Forest, or he always had it, or he just didn't, he developed in the NBA. Maybe a little bit of both. But John Collins is a good player. I think he can definitely become a 20-point-per-game scorer in the NBA in due time.
Yeah.
He kind of already is.
Right.
He's already teetering around that time.
Maybe a 20-point-per-game scorer on a good team.
On a good team.
On a
good
team.
Let's asterisk that because the Hawks are bad. Cold take of the podcast. But last but not least, I'm going to go with the dude who is a man on a mission, if you will, because he got snubbed from the dunk contest. Aaron Gordon, he's been doing 3 6-season games already.
Yep.
But on the real, I think that Aaron Gordon, he's got talent. And the Magic are going to make that run for the 8th seed in the East.
Right.
A very important spot.
Yep.
And I think they cannot get it without the likes of Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon, he's a star on an 8-seed team. That's probably his ceiling, honestly.
Yeah.
To be the best player on an 8-seeded team. I think, for Aaron Gordon, it took him a while to get to develop into the guy that they're paying him to be. But he's becoming that now. I think he's taking real strides in his shooting. He's not just a dunker, even though it does look cool and it puts butts in seats for Orlando. But I think, basketball terms, he's gotten really good at shooting. I think it's really helped him out a lot.
Yeah, he when he came in the league, he kind of was just like a athletic freak, if you will. He was just a guy that, we saw the dunks in high school. He was really athletic in college as well at Arizona, put on a highlight reel, and obviously remember him from the dunk contest. But he's a good player. He's a guy that, can do a little bit of everything. I kind of like him more at the 4 than I do at the 3. Because he does get a little trigger happy sometimes.
Right.
A little too friendly on the perimeter. But I think Aaron Gordon, he's got a little bit of a mean streak to him. And I think that, it's better to go to Disney World after getting knocked out of the first round than it is at the end of the regular season.
That's
so
true.
I'll take it. I always kind of wonder, like, if he walks around Orlando and people think he's like Aaron Judge.
Right. they do look
They do look
similar.
really alike. I think Aaron Gordon dressed up as him for Halloween.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah. So that'd be so funny if someone's like, oh my God, it's Aaron Judge. He's like in Orlando. He's like, no, I'm Aaron Gordon. They're like, who's that? Like, but anyways, just a side note right there. But that is gonna wrap it up here for Ball Don't Lie, episode 17, part 2.
Part 2.
The first one got lost somewhere, could not find it, but that is gonna wrap it up here. Thank you. Sorry you had to wait a couple days to get this, but no matter what, we are grinders here. We bump up that content no matter what.
Sir.
It's Matt's first published podcast, but technically his second run at it. So how'd it go?
Hopefully the listeners are thinking it's going pretty well. Hopefully I'll be back for another time. So, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. So thank you all for listening, and hopefully we can catch you soon.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.